Well, good morning, guys. Happy summer solstice. And it is going to be a really hot one here in Michigan today. We're looking at temperatures of 97, probably heat and index of 103, 104, something like that. So pretty hot for us. That being said, it is quite a pleasant 75 degrees here right now and not a cloud in the sky. I mean, it's just beautiful out. So I'm gonna take a quick walk, a couple updates on the animals, just kind of have a low-key video today. Hi, chickies. So these are the Delawares that we have been raising. These are all cockerels, so they're young males. Just a few are learning to crow. And we were initially keeping them in this chicken tractor that Eric built. But because it's been so hot lately, we've just kind of been propping it up like that. And honestly, there are just too many birds here for this chicken tractor. This tractor is 8x8. I would probably feel more comfortable if there were, 20 birds total. But there's, probably 55 or so in here, so that's just too many. So what we've done is we put out the Premier poultry netting with the charger there, and we've just been kind of letting them roam within this pen here. We do move the pen every day, every other day, depending on what they're doing to the ground. They are actually doing pretty well. I want to say they're 9 or 10 weeks. I'll have to go look at my calendar, but they've still got some filling out to do. Now with these guys, they are not as susceptible to heat stress as like the Cornish cross or something else. This is a heritage breed, so it's not like if you wait past their scheduled butchering date, they're not gonna, get heart failure or something like that, or not be able to walk, which is something that I like because we have a little more flexibility. But the other bonus is that they're not as susceptible to the high temperatures. That being said, we are still taking precautions with them. I've moved their enclosure into a completely shaded area. They always have access to plenty of water. And on the really, really hot days, I have actually come out here with a hose and sprayed down the grass around them so that they can cool down while it's evaporating. And I totally just touched this fence while I was talking to you. Ouch. So yeah, they're doing really good. We're going to weigh them soon and decide whether or not they're ready for freezer camp. And I don't know if you can tell, but this bird here has a black zip tie on its leg. We actually picked out 4 or 5 of them that we felt best fit the breed standard, or at least as close as we could come with this batch of birds, and we're actually going to keep those boys for breeding purposes. We separated out the females a long time ago. They're with our main laying flock. There's another one here. See, this boy has a black band on his leg. So yeah. And honestly, the ones that we kept are still far from perfect, but they'll at least help us improve the animals that we have going forward. So if we're raising a heritage breed, we want to kind of try to do that the best that we can. Not going to be a perfect thing. It's not going to be show quality or anything like that, but yeah. Just try to do the best we can. We have not had predator issues with these birds since we've put the Premier One netting out. We did lose some when they were just in the tractor without the netting perimeter. And when they were really little, we did do both. We closed them in the tractor at night, and then we electrified this fence around them, and that has really helped with minimizing predation. All right, let's take a quick look at the garden. I've got a Graham Thomas rose from David Austin, and that is blooming. And I'm actually going to build an arbor for it over this archway here. My chamomile is ready to go. I need to get out here and pick it. I'll do that on my break at work. Our apple seedlings. Now, I'll preface all of this by saying that my garden's a hot mess. Literally a hot mess. In no way is it a good example of what you should be doing, but this is just where we're at today. So yeah, we actually do have some peppers coming up in here. And there's cucumbers behind them. The occasional stray volunteer tomato. A misplaced cucumber, don't know why that's there. And there's eggplant in here, as well as cabbage. I really overdid the potatoes this year. I have potatoes all the way up the side, all the way down the back. And there are 2 rows of potatoes, so there's probably 120 row feet of potatoes. And I planted Kennebecs this year. I've been picking off my potato flowers as soon as I see them. And we're going to do an experiment. I've never tried this before, but we're going to see if we actually get more potatoes because of it. Because then the plant isn't focusing so much on flowering out as it is putting up roots, which of course is what we want because we're eating the roots. And I did actually plant some leftover purple seed potato that I had from last year, from what we saved. And you can kind of tell the plants actually have a purplish hue. It's actually quite pretty, you know, compared to the Kennebec. I want to say these were Magic Molly, but I'd have to check. This is also new for us. We're growing a small row of buckwheat. And it's just starting to flower, and the flowers are a really pretty pink color. And I planted some beans in here, but honestly I think this is like the only one that came up that was old seed. So, and this desperately needs to be, oh, here's another one. This desperately needs to be weeded big time. And this is amaranth that needs to be thinned. And this is a different variety of amaranth, and I only got a couple of those coming up. There was okra that was supposed to be in here somewhere, but I really couldn't tell you. I've never grown okra before, so I don't even know what it looks like, to be perfectly honest. Those of you that have grown okra, maybe you can point some out to me if you see any. Maybe this is it? This is something I don't recognize, so I don't know. Is that okra? You tell me. Believe it or not, these potato plants are about up to my waist. So they are loving the compost that we put on. We actually used fresh goat bedding. So goat manure is considered cool. In other words, I could not throw chicken manure on these plants. It would burn them. They've got too much nitrogen, too many things that plants need, but they need it after it's broken down. But the goat manure, your rabbit manure, things like that, you can go ahead and put those right on your plants, and it's really, as you can see, it makes a huge difference. I didn't put as much over here, but look at that. That's what that does. And I have topped all of these. I pulled all the flowers off that I could see. Behind these, I have several bean varieties coming up the side. So they're gonna fill in this whole back fence line. Back to this bed over here. That's quite a pretty color. And this is a volunteer. I think that this might be our lemon squash that we grew last year. But we'll see. There's two plants there that came up. And I did not put them there. There was also a zucchini that decomposed in here, so really it could be any of those, or even a cross between them. This bed is in desperate need of weeding, but this is all my beets, turnips, and of course many weeds. See, a lot of people will only show you their garden after it's weeded. I'm brave. I'll show it to you any which way. Oh, and here's a pile of volunteer tomato plants. For what reason, I don't know. There are also several volunteer tomato plants underneath the potato plants. This is a potato blossom, so I'm going to pull that off. Our garlic is really coming along. This top part here, this is called a garlic scape. And if you want your garlic to bulb up really nice, which I mean that's the point of garlic, right? You want to pull these off as soon as you see them. We did already take these off of this bed here. And we did a pretty thorough job, but I can see we missed some. And these actually can be chopped up and used kind of like you would green onions, except for, you know, they're a garlic flavor. So the garlic will be ready probably inside of a month. The tops are starting to get a little bit brown. We're gonna wait until part of the plant dies back and kind of flops over. So many escapes we missed. Now here's one thing I want to talk to you about. Your lettuce and your greens. Now it's going to get really, really hot today. So what I should have done is I should have come out here right when the sun was coming up, and I should have harvested most of this lettuce, because it's probably going to get a really bitter flavor. And it's best to do it when the weather is cool. That way it's nice and hydrated, it's not all wilted. Forage is so pretty and the bees love it. Got some kale coming along nicely. Don't want these moths. These moths lay eggs that turn into nasty things. I've got zucchini in this bed, 3 plants here, and then intermingled with those are some stray chamomile and lots of carrots. And this bed here has onions that are interplanted with tomatoes. And these tomatoes, they need to be pruned and they need to be staked, and I have not gotten to either of those things yet. So we're leaving them susceptible to disease that way, but honestly, I mean, we can only do what we can do, so I'll have to come out here when it cools down. And these leeks here, these are a couple years old, so they are gonna flower. What a mess. This is the herb bed. Kind of a miscellaneous hodgepodge of basil and oregano, thyme, cilantro, dill, all kinds of things. Chives. And a pile of potatoes that I'm actually doing an experiment with. I'm not even going to touch them. I'm just going to leave them in a pile and we're going to see what happens. Well, that's my mess of a garden on June 21st, 2022. All right, now let's go over to the barn and we're going to prepare the goats for a hot day. Good morning. How's everybody? How you doing, boy? Hi, ladies. Are you hungry? So normally I would put the goats outside right about now, but the temp is rising really fast. It feels really, really nice in here right now. I'm just gonna leave them in. There's a fan going here. I'm gonna make sure they have plenty of cool water. Goats are ruminants, okay, and they have a stomach where their feed kind of can ferment, and because of that, I'm gonna feed them a little bit less of their goat pellet than I would normally on a day where it was gonna be a normal temperature. And I'm just gonna give them more hay, just your standard orchard mixed grass hay, not a whole lot of alfalfa or anything like that. And I'm just doing that because I want to try to keep their temperature down. But being in this shaded barn, yeah, it's really going to help them. Now I'm going to let the main laying flock and the ducks go outside, but they're going to have the ability to come in whenever they want to cool off. Now, I would normally give the 4 girls a whole scoop of this, but I'm just giving them enough so that they can each have just basically a snack. And the boys will just get a tiny little handful. Hi, Dolly. And I'm going to definitely refill this hay rack because it is empty. Goats waste a ton of hay. Boys actually have enough hay still. Hi, Viv. This is actually made just from a cut up pallet, and it works really, really well. Hi, sweetie. They tear it all out anyway, but so now these birds can go in or out, whatever they want to do. They've got plenty of fresh water, so they should be okay. And these white birds here, these are the female Delawares. They're growing very nicely. What's it gonna be? In or out? I would normally leave that door open for airflow, but I can tell already just from stepping from the barn to here that there is a huge temperature difference between inside and outside. So I'm going to keep that cold air in the barn where it belongs. And now we're going to take care of the humans on the homestead. Now, one thing about living in a 100-plus-year-old farmhouse is that normally they don't come with central air. So we've got a couple of these cranked up, and even though it's just 2 little itty-bitty units that cost maybe $100 a piece, believe it or not, we have figured a way where that can essentially cool our entire house, okay? We put them in 2 of the upstairs rooms, and we leave the doors open, and then we put a fan at the bottom of the stairs on the first floor, and it sucks the cold air down. You guys might know, but cool air sinks, warm air rises, okay? So we're kind of using science to our advantage here. So the cool air drops down the stairs. We've got a fan to help it along, you know, and a fan to push it into the far corners of the house where it doesn't get and it actually does a really good job. We're not going to talk about the electric bill. That's a different story, but until we can get solar power or some other kind of thing here. We also hang out in the basement quite a bit on days like this. There's plenty to do down there, so no worries. Let's see the temperature difference. Oh yeah. Yep. Huge difference. Absolutely huge difference. Makes sure the storm door is closed and the main door is closed and all the shades are closed and no windows are left open. But it is tolerable in here, and I am super grateful for little things like that. If you're in a place where it's hotter than the devil's armpit too, make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you check on your elderly or young people or ill people, and try not to do too much. If you have to go care for the garden or whatnot, try to do it at night if you can, if it's cooled down some. And check your animals. Check them multiple times a day. It can take only a couple of hours for them to succumb to heat stress. So check them, and then check them again. Okay? Alright guys, take care. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.